Welcome to today's episode of Polished. Today's guest is the current Master of Critical Minerals and the former head of the Polish Trade and Investment Agency, Jakub Wilchelm. Jakub.
Hello, hi Steve.
I have to call you Jakub. I always call you Kuba, and it sounds strange to call you Jakub.
Yeah, I sometimes, sit at the table with three people, and one knows me as Jacob, another as Jakub, and another as Kuba. And they speak about me, and nobody knows they're speaking about the same person. So at some point, I have to stop them. It's like, guys.
International man of mystery.
Yeah.
So let's start with, you've had an interesting career and an interesting journey. Let's start at the top. You've studied in 3 different countries, and how did you find your way to Australia?
Yeah, right. I think I always had that curiosity for the world, to explore, to see. My parents would always push me and to go and then see the world. My dad was a big time sailor, going around the world, and I always wanted to explore. And so I did heaps of exchanges and traveling, studied in Denmark, Taiwan. I had also a year when I was sailing in the Caribbean for almost a year and doing a little bit of a business around the United States. To get that, also got, I remember 2007, as most of the Poles were trying to make money in the UK. I also went there to make some money, and my favorite, I was doing heaps of jobs, and my favorite was, riding on the side of a rubbish truck and collecting rubbish after music festivals. So all kinds of jobs. But then after that, study period, I did a little bit of business, started a business around the United States and the Caribbean in the real estate. And then when the GFC hit, I moved back to Poland and decided to do some studies around business. My previous education was international relations, and I always was interested in building interesting things. And so I decided to enroll in the business studies and economics in Poland and then in Taiwan. And in Taiwan, I met my wife, who is from Guatemala. And after our studies, after university, we moved to Poland. And I found this incredible opportunity in the mining industry. I got involved in a company that was a large mining OEM, but I didn't like to be put into a sales role or procurement role. So I convinced the company to start as a separate kind of entity within the structure to bring innovations, to create new products, to expand globally, look for partnerships, mergers, acquisitions. And it was really, really fun thing. It was fantastic. A kind of a business that is very conservative. I had an office with kind of Google style with the basket, and lots of colors. But after a few years, my wife said she was too cold in Poland, and she said she wanted to move to Australia. When I asked her why, she gave me 3 reasons: beautiful weather, wonderful people, and surfing. I couldn't really object at that time, but the next day I went to the office, opened the computer, Googled Australia, went to Wikipedia, the economy section, and wow, that's right. There's lots of mining here. So I did a little bit of a study, and after this Wikipedia research, the same day I went to my boss, who was the owner of that capital group that had that owned the mining OEMs, and I gave him that Wikipedia pitch. I told him, hey, this is a great mining country, and that's where we should be, taking our business and putting the capital steps. Surprisingly, he said, well, that makes sense. And if we get to Australia, we can get anywhere in the world. That's obviously one of the most professional mining markets in the world. So a few months later, we went with Minister Sikorski, Minister of Foreign Affairs, to Australia, to look for potential acquisitions, partners. I remember sitting in Bondi Beach, looking at the ocean. For me, it was, wow, this is incredible. And I tell him, you know what, I think this is it. We need to get here. And I remember he looks at me and says, bring me the business plan. If it's good, I give you funding for that business. And half a year later, I was with my wife in in Australia. And we started business from scratch. It was a mining related business. And it was obviously challenging at that time I couldn't even understand well what, the miners from somewhere, deep outback, I couldn't really understand them well, so it was fun time, but we managed to create a few strong alliances and managed to make this business work. We won long-term contracts with largest mining companies in Australia, and yeah, it was a great time. That was 2014, 2015. So that's how I got here.
So how did you end up with Minister Sikorski? Did the company you were working for, did they have government contracts?
No. It's most of the countries politicians travel around the world, and they usually bring business with them. So we were one of the strategic businesses in Poland. So at that time, I was probably going every month for a different mission around the world. So I was traveling a lot, and then I found out that minister was going to Australia. So that was kind of aligned with my idea of getting to the Australian market. So we just joined the trade mission. And there was a mining mission. So there was probably 7-8 largest mining companies from Poland, and that was my first mission to Australia. One of a few later, but the timing between the mission and the moment we managed to establish ourselves in Australia was quite short. But then it was a couple of years to actually develop the business, to build it, until we achieved some form of success. So that was a great time of business. But then something different happened. In 2018, I was in Poland, and that newly established organization, Polish Investment and Trade Agency, that is pretty much a trade and investment commission. I had a meeting with them, and they asked me if I was interested in helping them out to organize a trade mission, a business mission to Australia. That was 2018, and the president of Poland was going to Australia, and they needed also a business component for the official visit. And obviously, a low-hanging fruit for me was mining and energy. So I suggested, let's bring the mining companies. Let's see what we can do together. Both Poland and Australia are based on coal. Both countries are decarbonizing. They're transitioning into the other sources of energy. There's also heaps of mines, and probably that's one of those few sectors that are very obvious in between the two countries. And they said, okay, all right, it's on you. Organize the mission. I was like, well, hold on, am I organizing the business mission of the president of Poland? Yes, absolutely. And okay, let's do it. I had a very small team, and we brought, I believe, around 40 or 50 people from Poland, including largest mining companies, commodity traders, energy companies, banks, funds, and that was a 1-week mission. And the most important event of this visit was a forum, a business forum at Ivy here in Sydney, where we had probably 150 to 200 people, both from Poland and obviously Australia. So it was a great event. During that time, we had a few really good business cases. And at that time, the Polish Investment Trade Agency was setting up a new office in Sydney. And after the mission, they approached me and asked me, "Hey, would you be interested in running this office?" And I was involved in a couple of businesses, but they sold the story very well. It was a newly established organization. There was no developed procedures, structures. It was all kind of new, and I always loved building things, starting from scratch and developing. And I thought, wow, this would be amazing to combine business and kind of economic diplomacy and the newly established organization that we have to develop and create that global network. And I thought, hell yes, let's do it. And so I switched from business to business support, and that kind of a semi-diplomatic support as well. And yeah, this was an interesting time. A newly established office. I remember a beautiful view. Companies from Poland started coming. They started. We would share the desks with them to help them out. And I remember that time when I sat down and I thought, all right, I had never been in the kind of diplomatic world, that kind of support world. How do you build a trade and investment commission? And I remember I went to our Western colleagues who at that time, they had really large organization. I went to the Germans, to the French, British, and I asked them, hey, I'm new here, I'm new in town, and for the trade investment agency. How do you do it? What's the secret? How do you support companies? How do you build an organization? I had almost no guidance from Poland. It was all new. We were all kind of sharing best practices, trying to develop that global network of, at that time, I believe, 50 offices. And I remember most of those Western colleagues told me, we're very small teams, but we strongly rely on business networks at chambers of commerce of those individual countries. So they said, find yourself a chamber of commerce and half of your job is done. And that led me to initially PABF and later PACC. I did a little bit of a research of all the Polish related organizations, and I found this exquisite one. It was a very small one, but very professionally run. It was run by a PwC executive, and she invited me for a dinner. At that time, it was a purely networking organization, doing a few dinners per year, but very tailored matching. So I was sat next to a person from energy and from mining. There was probably 15 people. And I thought, wow, there's a very good energy. It seems like it's a really nice and professional group of people. And I met with Anya, who was the PwC person who ran that networking group, if you like. And I told her, hey, so I'm now involved in that Trade and Investment Commission, and I think we could do things together. We could really turn that networking organization in a professionally run chamber of commerce. And she was obviously full yes, this is a great idea, and that's how it all started. Yeah.
She's an incredible woman, Anya.
Yeah.
She's the Polish diaspora has a lot to thank her for. She's laid the foundations for everything that what has become. And now you've become the vice president of the Polish Australian Chamber of Commerce as well, and you still occasionally bring delegations over from Poland as well, even though you're not with PI anymore. So.
Yeah, it's hard to escape that world, It's fun. It's fun. It's if you think of it, Poland is the 20th economy in the world, and it's mainly built on small and medium enterprises. And all those companies feel really comfortable in the EU. But those markets outside of the European Union, maybe except for the US, that is an obvious market, are far, usually expensive to explore. And I thought that trade investment agency was a great tool to help them out establish in foreign markets. But that has to go in line with network, with people. So just market research or that initial help is not enough. Companies really need to be kind of funneled immediately to a network of businesses to be successful here. I remember when I was at the agency, we would have probably around 100 companies per year that we were helping, out of which maybe 10, 20 annually were succeeding on the market, selling something, establishing themselves. Then the pandemic came. That was also a massive challenge because companies couldn't leave the country. So we were their eyes and ears. Then the war came in Ukraine. Huge challenges. There was no call from Russia. There was, there was additional layer of challenges. And so it was a very interesting time. But at that time already I was, and maybe I'll explain why I switched from the agency now to the chamber. Most of my life I've been in business, and I love creating things, building things, and the time at the agency was great, and fantastic experience, but it was supporting other businesses, and I had that ambition to get back and do something on my own. And so my journey to the Chamber of Commerce wasn't immediate. First, I realized that it was the time to switch, to go back to business. And it's interesting because if you do the kind of job I was doing at that time, you have an understanding, or even I'd say a basic understanding of pretty much every sectors that there is in the world. Because we were supporting anybody from gherkins, from mushrooms to space technologies. So I at that time realized that if I do something, if I go back to business, it has to be something meaningful and big, something that can change the world. So I immediately thought, and also that something that aligns with my experience, with my interests, with geopolitics, with technologies, also related to mining. And I had this friend in Poland who has been doing amazing things, building most advanced machinery for the largest blue chip companies globally, automotive, aviation, electronics. And he showed me something incredible. He showed me a demonstrator, a plant that was producing metals, high purity metals from critical minerals, using electricity. So essentially, in very low energy, you can power that line with renewables. You don't need coal or gas to run a processing plant or refinery. I looked at it and I said, "Hey, man, what are you doing with that?" And he said, "Well, we had a client in South Africa. The South African mining company went bust, so it's been sitting on the shelf for a year or two." And I looked at it and I was like, "Let's do it. Let's commercialize it." So I left after I left the agency and I started talking to him, I basically bought into this business. And we started developing an incredible company that I have on a daily basis a great fun, that is in charge of processing critical minerals. So we've been doing chromium, tin. Now we're building a first processing line of tungsten. We've been also involved in rare earth elements. So incredibly interesting subject, and very geopolitically hot, I'd say. But because we set up the business in Australia as a holding company, and production facility and laboratories are based in Poland, it kept me in that constant relationship with Poland, not only in terms of manufacturing and R&D, but also clients, partners in Europe. And that was a couple of years ago. At that time, Monica, my really good friend, was running the Polish Australian, at that time, Business Forum, now Chamber of Commerce. And Monica said, "Hey, why don't you help me out with the chamber?" I had good contacts both in the government, business, and I thought actually that could really work. So I decided to join the board, and since then I've been strongly involved in the Chamber of Commerce, and I think it's working for all of the board members of the chamber. We combine our businesses together with Poland and Australia and the bridge that we're creating, and I'm also very lucky because we managed to bring really great delegations as a chamber, and the delegations, the government officials, the businesses, what they're mainly interested in is energy, it's mining, resources. Those are, as I mentioned before, those two lowest hanging fruits between Poland and Australia. So that also works very well for my business. So it's all kind of interconnected, and I think all the members of the chambers, they find some synergies between what they're doing and what the chambers is providing, and at the same time developing the opportunities in the space for companies from Poland and also Australia to connect and to do business together.
And very quickly, last question. Where do you see the Australian economy heading in terms of critical minerals and renewable energy? You've got, the Norwegians and the Scandinavian countries are very good with their sovereign wealth fund and providing generational wealth for many generations to come. Australia hasn't chosen that path. Where do you see our economy given the choices we made?
Yeah, so it's probably, we could have a very long discussion about it, but Australia for a long time has been close to ore. So we're great in digging stuff, doing the initial processing and selling it to other countries where they do the refining and turn it into metals. So this became a massive challenge once we realized how the world is working with all first the pandemic, the broken supply chains, then the war, and then we realized that, hold on, China is controlling all the critical minerals, then Russia, they're out of the picture in terms of supplying, and it creates a vacuum that needs to be filled somehow. So Australia, I think, is kind of woke up now and is trying to develop the downstream processing, is trying to develop the entire kind of, maybe not the entire supply chain, but get to the stage where we can not only have the high value product, but when we can have a control of what we're doing and not giving it away to other countries. So this is a great change. And obviously, those things can't happen individually, within one country. So you need collaboration. I think the Critical Mineral Act between the European Union and Australia, or the recent arrangement between the US and Australia, that all helps bringing technologies, establishing them here. So I think it has to change, and it'll be changing. I think Europe also has great ideas, but it's lagging behind currently. Looking at the US, they're much faster. So we need to act faster. We need to and this is one of my ambitions, to bring the EU, particularly Poland and Australia, closer together and create those strategic and critical supply chains. You also asked about the renewable energy. Another business that we started is in flow batteries and integrated cooling systems, mainly for data centers. And if you look at Australia, it's probably one of the most favorable environments for renewable energy in the world. We have heaps of sun, wind, and this has been developing. But if we look at the completely new emerging market, data centers, high performance computing, AI, and the investment announcements from Apple, from Google, from other big tech here in Australia, this can become an amazing hub for not only renewable energy, but also for data centers, for AI. And we realized that we could also play in this game. So we've been developing large capacity batteries that are also using minerals, and that's obviously leveraging our other business, independently sourced from let's say friendly countries, so geopolitically secure, and this is our new thing that we've been also strongly involved in. And I think that Australia has a potentially an amazing future and a very important role to play in the world.
Let's hope so. And we wish you all the best, Kumar. Thanks for joining us today. Been a pleasure as always, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much.